The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the deserted streets of Haven City. Once a bustling metropolis teeming with life, the city now lay eerily quiet, broken only by the faint rustling of leaves and distant, unsettling groans carried by the wind. Among the crumbling buildings and abandoned cars, a small group of survivors huddled in the safety of a fortified warehouse, their faces etched with exhaustion, fear, and an unwavering determination to endure. At the heart of this group was Maya, a former paramedic-turned-leader, whose sharp eyes missed nothing. Her voice was calm but firm as she addressed the others gathered inside. "We've held out this long because we stayed cautious. But the undead are growing in numbers and intelligence. If we want to survive, we can't just wait anymore." Maya's words hung in the stale air. The survivors knew she was right. The dead were no longer mindless wanderers, they seemed to be coordinating, herding the living like prey. Each day, their numbers swelled, inching closer to breaking the last bastions of humanity. Jacob, a rugged man with scars crisscrossing his arms, paced near the entrance, gripping a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. He glanced out the reinforced windows at the silent streets, shadows moving in the distance. "We need a plan," he said. "Something big. Something that can stop them for good." The group nodded, a mixture of hope and desperation flickering in their eyes. They had lost so much, friends, family, homes, but they still had their will to fight. Tonight would be the night they took their stand. Outside, the undead shuffled closer. Their groans grew louder, filling the night with a chilling chorus. Among them, something was different. A new presence, smarter, more menacing. The survivors had heard rumors, a leader among the dead, a monster that could rally them and strike fear into the hearts of the living. Maya's gaze hardened. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for the future." Narrative highlights and suspense hooks in Part 1. Setting the scene, the abandoned city, a stronghold of survivors, creates a vivid, tense backdrop. Introducing main characters: Maya, the pragmatic leader, Jacob, the tough protector. Building tension, the undead are evolving, smarter, more organized, raising the stakes. Foreshadowing, a mysterious leader among the undead hints at future challenges. Emotional stakes, loss and determination fuel the survivors' motivation. The call to action, they're planning a decisive stand, promising action in upcoming parts. Would you like me to continue with Part 2 next? Or would you prefer the full 8-part outline before diving into detailed parts? Just let me know. The survivors barely slept that night. Inside the warehouse, every creak and distant moan made hearts race. Maya gathered the group around a battered table littered with maps and hastily drawn plans. She pointed to the city's outskirts where the undead had been concentrating. "We've tracked their movements," she explained. "They're not just wandering aimlessly anymore. There's a pattern, they're trying to cut us off from supply routes and safe zones." Jacob slammed his fist on the table. "We can't stay here forever, waiting for them to surround us." A younger survivor, Eli, who had been silent until now, spoke up, voice trembling but resolute. "I overheard some of the scouts talking about something they call the Warden. It's like their leader, stronger and faster than the rest, controlling them somehow." Maya's eyes narrowed. "That's what we feared. If the Warden is real, this isn't just a survival fight. It's a war." The survivors knew the risk of venturing out. Every trip for supplies was a gamble with death. But staying put meant eventual defeat. The group's mechanic, Lila, suggested using the old city subway tunnels to move undetected and launch a surprise counterattack. "It's dangerous," she warned. "But it's our best shot at striking back before they're too strong." The survivors set to work, gathering weapons, reinforcing gear, and steeling themselves for what could be their final mission. Maya felt the weight of their hopes resting on her shoulders. One wrong move, and all of them could be lost. Outside, the undead grew restless, their guttural cries louder than ever. In the distance, a figure emerged, towering, with glowing eyes piercing the darkness. The Warden had arrived. The city held its breath. Narrative highlights and suspense hooks in Part 2. revealing the evolving threat. The undead are strategic, cutting off survivors' routes. Introducing the Warden, a formidable undead leader, upping the stakes. Survivor's dilemma: stay hidden or risk a dangerous counterattack through subway tunnels. Building anticipation: the survivors prepare for a pivotal mission with uncertain odds. Ending on a cliffhanger, the first appearance of the Warden sets a tense, ominous tone. Want me to continue to part 3 now? Or would you prefer an overview of all parts first? As twilight surrendered to the ink-black night, Maya led the group toward the mouth of the subway tunnels, a forgotten labyrinth beneath the city that promised both danger and a glimmer of hope. The air was thick with the scent of damp concrete and rust, a sharp contrast to the suffocating stillness above. Every step echoed loudly in the narrow corridors, each noise a potential beacon for the undead. Jacob moved at the rear, eyes constantly scanning the shadows for movement. Lila checked the flickering flashlight strapped to her helmet while Eli clutched his makeshift spear tighter than before, his youthful face pale but determined. "This way," Maya whispered, holding up a worn map. "If we can reach the maintenance junction, we'll have a vantage point to strike back." But the tunnels held secrets of their own. Faint scratching sounds and low groans began to fill the darkness, growing steadily louder. The survivors froze. From the shadows emerged figures, not mindless walkers but swift, aggressive undead scouts, clearly sent to patrol and warn the horde above. A tense battle erupted in the cramped tunnel, blades swung, bats crashed, and survival instincts kicked in. Jacob's bat cracked against a skull, while Eli's spear jabbed with desperate precision. Despite their fear, the survivors fought fiercely, their bond growing stronger in the chaos. After what felt like hours, the group reached the maintenance junction, but their relief was short-lived. Ahead, the tunnel was blocked, barricaded by twisted metal and decaying bodies. Beyond the barrier, distant thuds and a chilling, commanding growl echoed. The Warden was close. Maya's heart pounded. This is no ordinary enemy. We're up against something far more dangerous. The survivors gathered their strength. With no way back and the horde closing in, their last stand was about to begin, deep beneath the city, in the shadows where hope and fear intertwined. Narrative highlights and suspense hooks in Part 3. Journey into the subway creates a claustrophobic, tense atmosphere. Close quarters combat, immediate danger with fast, aggressive undead scouts. Rising stakes, survivors face physical and psychological challenges. Foreshadowing the Warden presence, his growl signals an imminent encounter. No turning back, survivors trapped underground with enemies closing in. Ready for Part 4? Just say the word. The air inside the maintenance junction was thick with a heavy, suffocating silence. The survivors pressed close together, their breaths shallow and uneven, the only sounds their quiet whispers and the distant, menacing thuds beyond the barricade. Maya crouched beside the barricade, inspecting the twisted metal and decaying bodies forming the grim wall. This is no accident. The Warden's been here. He's marking territory, controlling them. Jacob gritted his teeth, his knuckles white as he tightened his grip on the bat. We can't let him think we're weak. We need to find a way through, or around. Lila, pulling out a small toolkit, examined the barricade for weak points. There's a maintenance hatch beneath the debris, she whispered. If we can clear enough, we might squeeze through. But it won't be easy. Suddenly, a guttural roar shook the tunnel. The barricade trembled as the horde above pressed closer, driven by the Warden's will. The survivors exchanged fearful glances. This was no longer just about survival. It was about fighting an enemy with a ruthless intelligence. Eli stepped forward, voice trembling but fierce. We have to move now. Waiting will only make it worse. Maya nodded, rallying her team. Prepare yourselves. We'll clear the hatch and push through. Keep your eyes open and your weapons ready. As they began their desperate task, the ground beneath them vibrated, the horde was almost upon them. Suddenly, a figure appeared from the shadows beyond the barricade, taller and more terrifying than any they'd seen. The Warden. With glowing eyes and a predatory snarl, he lunged, breaking through the barricade with terrifying strength. The survivors scrambled back, weapons raised, ready for the brutal fight that would decide their fate. Narrative highlights and suspense hooks in Part 4. The Warden's presence confirmed. He's a powerful, controlling figure among the undead. Tactical challenge: survivors must find a way through the barricade under pressure. Rising physical danger: horde is closing in, vibrations create urgency. First direct confrontation with the Warden sets the stage for a pivotal showdown. Survivors' resolve tested, they face a terrifying, seemingly unstoppable enemy. Want to keep going with Part 5? The tunnel erupted into chaos as the Warden smashed through the barricade, his hulking form looming over the survivors. His glowing eyes burned with a cold, merciless intelligence, and every movement seemed calculated to intimidate and destroy. Maya shouted commands, her voice cutting through the frenzy. Stay together. Aim for the head. Don't let him control the horde. Jacob swung his bat with furious strength, managing to land a solid hit, but the Warden barely flinched. Eli darted forward with his spear, but the undead leader caught the weapon mid-thrust, twisting it aside with terrifying ease. The horde pressed in behind him, their groans rising into a deafening roar. The survivors were surrounded, fighting on every side, their weapons barely keeping the relentless waves at bay. Lila scrambled to clear the debris from the maintenance hatch, desperation fueling her every move. Almost there. Keep them off me. Maya fought alongside Jacob, blocking blows and striking back, but fatigue was setting in. The tunnel felt like a tomb closing in. Just when all seemed lost, a sudden explosion echoed through the tunnels, a flare ignited, blinding the undead and scattering the horde momentarily. A new figure appeared, a stranger with a determined gaze and a powerful weapon, cutting through the undead with ruthless efficiency. Maya's breath caught. Who is that? The stranger's eyes locked with hers. I'm here to help. Let's finish this. Narrative highlights and suspense hooks in Part 5. High-stakes battle: survivors fight desperately against overwhelming odds. The Warden proves nearly unstoppable, shows strength and control. Tension and chaos: the claustrophobic setting amplifies danger. Introduction of a mysterious new ally, sparks hope and curiosity. Ending on a hopeful cliffhanger: new help may turn the tide, but who is this stranger? Ready for Part 6? The stranger moved with practiced precision, clearing a path through the relentless horde. With every swing of their weapon, more undead fell, giving the survivors precious moments to regroup and catch their breath. Maya stepped forward cautiously. Thank you, but who are you? Why are you here? The stranger lowered their weapon, eyes sharp but guarded. Name's Alex. I've been tracking the Warden for weeks. I know his weaknesses, and how to stop him. Jacob exchanged a skeptical glance with Maya. Why should we trust you? How do we know this isn't a trap? Alex's gaze hardened. Because if the Warden isn't stopped, none of us will survive. I don't want to see anyone else fall. With no better option, Maya nodded. All right, Alex. What's the plan? Alex unrolled a crude map, marked with underground passages, supply caches, and weak points in the horde's formation. We hit them where it hurts, the energy source that's animating the Warden and his control over the horde. Lila frowned. Energy source? What are you talking about? Alex explained that the Warden wasn't just a leader, it was powered by a mysterious device hidden deep beneath the city, emitting signals that controlled the undead swarm. Destroying it could break the horde's coordination. Eli's eyes widened. If we succeed, maybe we can end this. Maya felt a flicker of hope amidst the despair. Then we don't have a moment to lose. The survivors prepared for a dangerous mission deeper into the city's forgotten underground, knowing every step could be their last. Narrative highlights and suspense hooks in Part 6. Introduction of Alex as a knowledgeable ally, builds intrigue around their past and motives. Revealing the Warden's power source, adds a sci-fi twist and a tangible goal. Trust issues among survivors, realistic tension within the group. Hope rekindled but danger amplified, stakes remain high. Setting up a daring mission to destroy the source, builds suspense for upcoming parts. Want to jump into part 7? The narrow corridors twisted and turned like the veins of a dying beast as the survivors plunged deeper beneath the city. The faint hum of machinery echoed in the distance, the unmistakable heartbeat of the mysterious energy source that fueled the warden's control. Alex led the way, their flashlight cutting through the darkness. The others followed, hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. Every shadow seemed alive with unseen threats. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the tunnels, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The horde above had sensed the intrusion, and their movements grew frantic, desperate to protect their master's power. Jacob whispered, "We're running out of time." Ahead, the glow of pulsating blue light spilled from a cavernous chamber. Within, an enormous device churned with energy, cables snaking like metal vines, sparking and humming with dangerous power. Lila stepped forward, eyes wide. "That's it, the source." But before they could act, alarms blared, triggering a wave of automated defenses, turrets whirred to life, and traps sprung from hidden corners. The survivors scattered, dodging fiery blasts and razor-sharp blades. Maya grit her teeth, signaling the group to press on. "We have to disable it before it's too late." Eli rushed toward the control panel, fingers flying over buttons and switches, trying to override the system. But the device fought back, surging energy pulsed, threatening to overwhelm them all. Just when hope seemed lost, Alex shouted, "Now, Jacob! Hit the main power conduit." With a roar, Jacob swung his bat with all his might, shattering the conduit. The chamber erupted in sparks and shudders as the energy source began to fail. The horde above faltered, their coordination breaking as the warden's grip weakened. The survivors had struck a devastating blow. But the victory was bittersweet. The tunnels began to collapse, and they had to escape before the entire underground labyrinth sealed their fate. Narrative highlights and suspense hooks in Part 7. Tense descent and discovery of the energy source. The stakes reach a critical point. Automated defenses and traps. New challenges raise tension in action. Teamwork under pressure. Each survivor plays a key role. Destruction of the energy source disrupts the horde. Major turning point. Imminent danger with collapsing tunnels. Urgent race against time. Ready for the thrilling conclusion with Part 8? The ground shook violently as the survivors sprinted through the crumbling tunnels, debris crashing around them like thunder. Dust filled the air, stinging their eyes and choking their breaths. Behind them, the ominous hum of the energy source faded into silence. Maya led the way, determination burning in her eyes. "Keep moving. We're almost out." Alex stayed close, weapon ready, eyes scanning for any last threats. The horde is confused, they're losing coordination. This is our chance. Emerging into the dim morning light, the group paused for a brief moment, hearts pounding from the escape and the battle that had brought them here. The city above was eerily quiet, the undead no longer moved as one terrifying force, but scattered and disorganized. Jacob cracked a weary smile. "We actually did it." Lila wiped sweat from her brow. "For the first time in months, maybe we have a future." But as they caught their breath, a faint groan echoed from the shadows. The warden, weakened but not destroyed, stumbled forward, eyes still glowing with a faint, deadly light. Maya raised her weapon. "This isn't over. We'll finish this. For humanity." The survivors tightened their grip, united by hope and the will to fight. Their last stand was just the beginning of a new battle, one for reclaiming their world from the undead. As the sun rose, casting golden light over the ruined city, the survivors took their first steps toward rebuilding, stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever horrors came next. Narrative highlights and suspense hooks in Part 8. High-stakes escape from collapsing tunnels, keeps adrenaline high until the end. Horde's loss of control symbolizes turning the tide in humanity's favor. The warden's weakened return leaves room for future conflict or sequel. Hopeful yet cautious ending balances victory with the reality of ongoing struggle. A new beginning for survivors sets a tone of resilience and courage. If you want, I can help you with a summary, or ideas for images, or anything else related to this story.